Yeah, Darren, it's fantastic because it's when the minnows have their day, and all the neutrals. Of course, what we want is to see a giant club humbled, embarrassed, humiliated, shot out of the FA Cup by a lower league team. And of course, there are famous historic shocks across the FA Cup's wonderful 154-year-old history. It would be fantastic to see it.
Sean Dyche, who was sacked. Transition.
Yes.
Sacked. He finally got the sack yesterday. Geoff, just want to get your reaction to that news, and then Everton's performance yesterday in FA Cup.
Well, the old managerial merry-go-round is in full swing, isn't it? I mean, Graham Potter going into West Ham, Sean Dyche leaving Everton, David Moyes hotly tipped to replace him as well. Look, I don't think anybody should underestimate what a great job Sean Dyche did there. I know the results were poor of late, but across the nearly 2 years he was there, they had 2 points deductions, not 2 points, but 2 sets of points deductions. A chaotic boardroom, fire sales left, right and centre, hardly any money. He kept them up. What he went through there would most managers won't even see in a decade. So, yes, we know. But, a lot of these problems that are highlighted here in the goals, the open play, these were problems for Everton before Sean Dyche got there. There were the same problems for Frank Lampard. There were the same problems for previous managers as well. So I don't think it was easy at all. And the fans were unhappy with the style of football as well towards the end, which never helps. But he did what was needed to do. And maybe he was just honest when he said to the new owners, look, I'm not sure I can get much more out of this team. So it had gone as far as it could, and I think he did remarkably to get it as far as he did.
Geoff, and it feels like for next season that Everton want to start with a fresh page, right? Into the new stadium, new feel, new look. But you got to get there in the Premier League. And Sean Dyche, it feels like he's a manager that would tick all the boxes to get them there. I know that the teams that they're fighting in this relegation battle against have fired new managers, or they've changed their form, like Wolves or an Ipswich, for example. But the Friedkin group made a really big call with this sacking, and their next one, if it is Moyes, is going to be even bigger to get them to that promised land, which is salvation, stay in the Premier League and play in the Premier League in the new stadium next season.
Well, Nico, I think they've looked at it from their point of view. You're absolutely right. They have to be in the Premier League. That is the holy grail. But if you offered them right now, they would survive on goal difference. They'd probably take it. Such is the importance of staying in the Premier League. They have to be there. So the next appointment has to reflect that. And if the results were showing no signs of improvement, which they weren't, they also probably had to make a change. It just, maybe it had run its course, and in the situation they were in, a change was the right thing to do. David Moyes said he wasn't looking for a club involved in a relegation scrap, but he potentially would make an exception for Everton, his beloved Everton. He was there for 11 years. He took them into Europe. He took them into the Champions League, don't forget, as well. I don't think they finished outside the top 8. The only thing I would say about David Moyes' appointment, at the time, towards the end, a lot of the Everton fans were feeling... I think some Everton fans, Nico, will be a little bit bittersweet about his return, because they will view this as a pragmatic manager being brought in, and is not the style of football that some of them want. Whether or not that is for further down the line, who knows? I'm going to be really interested if he does see it, the length of the contract as well. Or also, it might be finally the time where David Moyes is at a club where he gets the full backing and he gets the money, and it is a more expansive style of football as well. So it's intriguing. I think he'll be warmly welcomed, certainly by the majority. And I also think if it's David Moyes, he will keep them up.
Geoff, interesting that you said a style of football that the club wants, that the supporters want, in talking about Graham Potter taking over at West Ham. He's been linked to 17 other clubs. Why finally did he say, you know what, West Ham is the club for me?
He said, when he was asked that very question, Charlie, he said, it just felt right from talking to the board, talking to the owners, talking to the staff, having a look at the academy, having a look at the playing squad. Look, make no bones about it, he has got a massive job on his hands at a club that has chewed through managers as well. And don't forget, this is the club that got rid of David Moyes because the fans didn't like the style of football. Yet he won them their first trophy in decades. So he's going there at a tough time. It's Aston Villa tonight in the FA Cup. Nice bit of symmetry. The last team he faced before he was sacked by Chelsea, 2023, April, was, of course, Aston Villa. But he's got no Antonio. He's got no Jared Bowen. So he's got a lot on his plate. He's going to have to turn things around pretty quickly at West Ham. But I do think it's an interesting appointment because, of course, there's no way that Everton wouldn't have been aware that Graham Potter was available. So why didn't they go for Graham Potter? Or why didn't Graham Potter choose Everton? If he had the choice of both, I don't know. But would you have chosen West Ham over Everton? New stadium, new owners. Interesting one.
Geoff, for the FA Cup, obviously these lower tier teams get to face giants, and as a player that's been on a lower tier team that gets to face a team that I would love to play for, I can't even imagine how much that means in a tournament like this. Can you talk about the allure of these teams getting to play in this tournament and face the likes of Liverpool?
Yeah, Darren, it's fantastic because it's when the minnows have their day, and all the neutrals, of course. What we want is to see a giant club humbled, embarrassed, humiliated, shot out of the FA Cup by a low league team. And of course, there are famous historic shocks across the FA Cup's wonderful 154-year-old history. It would be fantastic to see it. Looking at the fixtures this weekend. I mean, that's the famous shot there, 1992. That's when Wrexham knocked out the mighty Arsenal. And trust me, Wrexham and the old racecourse ground were nothing like what they are now. I was there that night, and it was one of the greatest moments of all time in the FA Cup. And the scenes in the dressing rooms and amongst the fans, it's just fantastic. It's what football is all about. I mean, unfortunately, yes, Liverpool, they've got Accrington Stanley. City have got Salford. Leeds have got Harrogate. Newcastle have got Bromley. But they are all at home. All the big clubs, the 3 Premier League clubs and Leeds, they are all at home.